A pleasant good morning to you, our viewers, watching on television and online and on our media partner platforms. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Jessie Leonce, and this is St. Lucia's COVID-19 response report. A wrap-up, because today is Saturday, of the week that was between the 12th to the 17th of April this past week. I'm joined in studio by my colleagues, Mr. Carlton Cyril, better known as Cokes, as well as Mr. Tony Nicholas. And we've been leading the programming and the presentations for this week's programming, and just to look back at the developments of the week. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to you, Jessie, and good morning to our listeners and to all our viewers.
Wonderful.
Bonjour Jessie, bonjour Tony, nous voulons dire bonjour especially pour vous qui ici et puis nous si maintenant qu'à continuer ben nous venons bout si maintenant nous qu'a dit merci tellement aussi pour ces gens qui écoutent nous sur radio nous qu'a dit bonjour bao n'importe côté c'est gens nous en l'autre pays nous savons qu'à écouter un bel bonjour bao aujourd'hui à qu'on ou savent nous ici et puis ça nous a fait visiter tout ça qui passait tout développement qu'on y pour faire avec COVID-19. Merci tellement que vous êtes en écoute.
Thank you, Cokes. Just to outline, for the week, if we look at the timeline, the overarching story was the extension that the Prime Minister announced on Sunday in a sit-down with himself and Miss Dr. Sharon Belmar George. He announced that the partial shutdown would be extended to the 26th of April 2020, and that was during a delivery of an update to the nation just before the telethon, the televised telethon here on NTN. I believe we have a clip on the Prime Minister's very words, and it's from that we have the other 10 poles of developments happening for the week. Take a look.
Cabinet has agreed to maintain the existing partial shutdown, scale-down operations for the period of April 14th until April 26, 2020. We've agreed to expand the activities under the hardware service as well as home suppliers to include emergency renovation and maintenance activities at the household level to facilitate water storage, plumbing maintenance in preparation for the drought alert. And I know that there are many solutions that are handymen and have probably been equally frustrated that they're at home and there's so many things that they could have done at home. So this is to help you be able to get access to the materials that you would need to be able to continue repairing your own homes, as well as preparing your home for the drought and certainly preparing your home for the upcoming hurricane season.
As the Prime Minister there, the Honorable Alan Chasney, on Sunday, 12th April, announcing that the partial shutdown would be extended to 26th April, and also there making the announcement that hardware and home supply stores would be open for the drought and hurricane season preparations. The Prime Minister stated that such businesses would have to, of course, obtain permission and guidance from the Ministry of Commerce to ensure that they were aware of the expected protocols while operating under the partial scale down. We also had this week Commerce Minister, I believe it was on Wednesday, Commerce Minister, the Honorable Bradley Felix, was on hand to speak to us on the additional aspects of this new section of businesses that have been allowed to operate. Of course, you would have had your own experiences if you ventured into the city. Persons would have noticed that there was definitely more activity in the capital, at least, than usual. We take a clip from the Honorable Bradley Felix on his experience.
The Prime Minister did indicate that the hardware stores would have been reopened from today. The Ministry of Commerce did put out a PSA to indicate to manufacturers, hardware stores, convenience stores and home supply stores that they would have to apply through the ministry, and they would get the necessary approval and guidelines. I must indicate that because the Prime Minister had indicated that the hardware stores would have been open, a lot of owners of hardware stores felt a bit confused because they felt that the announcement had been made and yet still they now had to apply for permission. But I think the intention of our message got across because by people calling and inquiring, we were able to tell them, yes, the hardware stores can open, however, we need to ensure that you follow certain guidelines. And while everybody is aware of the social distancing on the lines on the outside, the number of people they can engage on the inside, one of the things we have recognized is staff behave as normal. So staff in the back office continue to congregate as usual. The packers, the people serving, they continue to behave as they would normally behave in a normal environment. So we wanted to ensure that we brought the message to these hardware stores that, listen, your staff are also critical in the way they behave, the way they assemble, the way they congregate. And so we wanted to make sure that message got out there. So while we have since adjusted our PSA to take away the confusion as it relates to whether hardware stores have to apply or not, but we continue to send out the message to the hardware store owners that there is a certain protocol that must be followed, whether it's external customers or your internal customers. So that is in place now. With regards to the convenience stores, the home supplies owners, they do have to apply. We recognize that some of these stores sell a wide range of items, and we want to ensure that they restrict the activity in the store to what is considered to be essential items, which is your sanitary items, your cleaning supplies, health and wellness. We would try as much as possible. And we know that a lot of these stores do have various floors where different things are located. So if it's possible to completely lock off maybe top floors so people can only address the essential needs on one floor, we ensure that we provide that sort of guidance to them.
Was the Honorable Minister Bradley Felix, Minister for Commerce, Industry, Investment, Enterprise, Development and Consumer Affairs, speaking to us on Wednesday about the scale down, the partial shutdown, and the announcement from the Prime Minister that hardware and home supply stores could be opened for the drought and hurricane season. Many businesses opened upon this announcement from the Prime Minister, and they did not have a permission. They did not obtain permission from the Ministry of Commerce, and thereby did not receive official advisories on the protocols of opening under the partial scale down. And Castries was busy, Tony.
It was. And whilst many were happy for some of the services that were offered during the opening, it did create a sense that, hey, we need to reassure or confirm that the understanding that things are not back to normal as yet. We are not out of the woods as yet, as what the CMO is saying, because with the opening of some of those businesses, not only were we seeing persons gravitating towards those various stores, but you saw persons congregating, whether it be outside, around bus stops or what have you. And this is something that we have been advised to refrain from doing as we are still under a state of emergency, despite the fact that, you know, there's a partial reopening of some business places.
Indeed. And on Thursday, Acting Commissioner of Police was in studio giving us an interview, I think the first interview in about 2 or 3 weeks, telling us that this would not be tolerated. Any non-compliance, any violation of the emergency protocols would not be tolerated. Acting Commissioner of Police, Milton Daisy.
I think the time has come when persons need to be arrested, and so that persons would take example from that, because everybody, let me try something, let me open to see if the police will tell me close. So I think the time has come where if you are not supposed to open, if you are not supposed to be out, that you stay home, and so that the police can enforce the laws that they are to enforce.
So zero tolerance policy?
Yes, it is zero tolerance, because what we have noticed now is that the country is open. That is basically what we have noticed. You have traffic jam in the city. You have the highway from Castries to Grosile, still traffic moving bumper to bumper, and that is not, I don't think that was the intention. The intention was certain places, the food places were open first, so that persons don't starve, you get something to eat. Then they have opened up some of the businesses that would be selling things in terms of plumbing, electrical, and so on for repairs and so on. So if you are not on the list to open, persons, please do not try to open, because we would be out there, and persons will be arrested for that.
Acting Commissioner of Police there, Mr. Milton Daisy, stating also that there will be a zero tolerance policy, not just for businesses, but also for individuals who violate the emergency protocols. Now, we encourage you to remain on the right side of the law. Remain at home as much as possible. Stay within the confines of your home as much as possible. Do stay home when the curfew comes on, the 10-hour curfew, that is 7 p.m. to 5 a.m., because the police will not be tolerating anymore, for the lack of a better word at this point, slackness. You know, we need to be on our P's and Q's. This is serious business. We are under a state of emergency. And so the police they're at a point where they must take punitive measures to ensure that the general public complies. And shockingly so, because it is for our own good.
Yes, yes.
You know, it is for our own good. So we would like to thank everybody who has been complying so far, and for those of you who have not, avoid a criminal record, avoid being arrested and the embarrassment of it all in your community. Speaking of which, this week we had 30 individuals arrested and charged for violating curfew. And the Public Relations Officer of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Corporal Ann Joseph, disclosed that 30 were arrested and charged for this, breaking the 10-hour curfew, and many more had been turned away at the zone checkpoints at the Bordelais and Tikai gaps, including a group of bikers. So we want you to be aware of the ordinances, the announcements, advisories of the government of St. Lucia. It's why we have been reiterating, re-emphasizing the importance and the information as we get it from the Office of the Prime Minister. Tony?
Well, we've been discussing a lot of those issues on and off camera in terms of persons being out there, and we've been seeing some of the comments about, you know, it's a very difficult task that the police have on hand, even in terms of policing some of the back roads, because some folks, they know the little back roads that they could take to avoid the main roads and avoid being caught by the police. But as you rightfully said, the commissioner have said that, you know, it's now time for zero tolerance. We really need to curtail this and really contain this. If you do not have to be out there, you know, stay at home, folks. I mean, there's no reason to be out lining. Like we said, we know it's difficult. It's difficult for a lot of us, you know, but do not make it even more difficult for the police and even putting others at risk by being out there.
And amazingly, I must say, Jesse and Mikey, when it comes to the thought of persons being out there, persons literally considering, I'm so fed up of being inside, I want to go out, it's almost as if persons forget what we're dealing with. It's almost as if you have to remind people, listen, you have a choice here. You could go outside, you could get COVID-19, come back, contaminate, spread it to the persons at your home, your loved ones. And we are saying, quote unquote, the vulnerable persons among us, which happens to be our parents, grandparents, or those of us who live with those persons. And you ask yourself, are we seeing what's happening in those other continents? Are we seeing what's happening in the US? I mean, only make mention to only last night, the news, I mean, in New Jersey, I think it was, 17 persons living in those, the house of the elderly, you know, in homes. They had 17 of those persons stuff in a little morgue. The mortuary couldn't even, because you know it's a home. 17, and they were calling for body bags, you know, and only to find out, but what are you doing with more body bags? So just imagine, either way, if we had to balance it off, stay home, you know, or come out. I mean, and it's clear, it's being repeated. We keep saying it here, you heard over the media, and you ask yourself, what is it that persons want to come and do out? Why are we saying open up? What are you going to look for? Now, fascinatingly, Tony, if you want to say, Jesse, then persons will change, the language will change. the story will be something else. It will be now, you see, God forbid, we have another outbreak or we just get this thing out of control and we have our parents that dying, you have persons and persons lining up at the morgue. I'm saying, God forbid. Are we even thinking of that other side of it? That, okay, all of a sudden, St. Lucia, how many respiratory machines we have at VH? How many persons can the morgue really hold? You know, and then what do you do when you're on a bench? You have the corona, I mean, we are seeing it. Persons are not even willing to go to the ER. You know, in fear of, you have the signs, you've seen the symptoms, but because of what you are seeing, you're hearing, I mean, not enough protective gear, you're hearing that kind of thing. So it bids to, you know, I mean, sometimes I'm just lost. You know, when we ask persons to stay home, the reason is quite clear. We are saying stay home because if you contact this thing, I mean, what could be the worst case scenario? Death. We are saying there are persons do not show no signs. Healthy carriers, as you want to say, for lack of a better term. And they are out there. And we are saying it's not all over and done with. So, merci encore, nous avons dit discussion vraiment c'est là où d'ouvrir d'or qui ça ou kay fait est-ce que kay gain ba yo business c'est ba essential là parce que c'est ça qui te fait si maintenant premier ministre vini faire annoncement tout le monde devrait savoir qui ça qui kay fait est-ce pays a kay ouvert qui manière kay ouvert nous on dit temps pour compter longtemps OK premier ministre a dit commencer les 14 pour les 26 place là l'année business yo kay ouvert qui business il te fait bien clair c'est place là qui ka vendre matériaux avec marchandises pour wanher clou caillou faire un petit bagay pour préparer pour temps sec là kawem nan nou dan là et puis saison hurricane là et tout le monde en sort dehors comme si dit ouais pas là ouvert tout bagay et personne pas ka chiller messieurs bagay ça poko fini messieurs moi pe henni maman moi pe me henni même si moi fort santé moi bon santé mais grand maman qui la kay moi maman moi nous ka dit ça c'est ça qui brise quand il nous supposé ni nous poko fini 20 maintenant là toujours I mean pour 10 ministre ministre vini dit place business qui ni wom pas wom fait mon ka say way I mean it's almost like in the time of Al Capone. Right now, you have people literally out to get liquor. I mean, my rum, one way, I mean, could you imagine?
And we heard a report of one person being arrested, I think it was in the Babonneau area, for selling alcohol, or, you know, operating.
And the commissioner was saying that the shop was closed, but there were people in the shop. So as far as they were concerned, they were not operating.
They were under lockdown. Consuming the alcohol under lockdown.
Inside.
You know, and the commissioner had to re-emphasize that, and he had to bring it up to say, I mean, it's closed. All liquor licenses has been suspended. So, I mean, to even think that you're indoors, right? You are indoors, but you close. So that means, but you know, you're inside drinking.
There's still transactions.
You know, and mentioning the zoning. Do we even understand, Tony, why we have the zoning? Why was what was the
we've said it, we've discussed it.
I mean, the mobility of persons up and down the country. We need to reduce it. We need to flatten the curve. We need to stop the community spread of COVID-19.
Contact and tracing.
Yes.
And which was the main highlight of this zoning and the reason behind it that, listen, the country is being divided in 2 zones, and the reason for that is if, God forbid, Cooks has it, you know, we could trace him in the north.
Yes.
Cooks par pièce l'autre côté, puis par Saï-Castri en nord là. Si Tony in Sudlan. So it makes the job because our resources, you know, we do not have the resources to take. So I think all in all, I mean, this week we saw it from everybody who came, all the persons we interviewed, all of them, I mean, re-emphasize, we take care of you. So pas besoin bail pour sortir dehors, pas sortir. So kay sortir dehors, mettez masou. So pas ni maslan et puis un mouche poche et bien bagay mais ba réfugié raison pour ça si un monde touché par accident that on même pas contacter vers maintenant juste pour monde manière yo ka servi maslan we heard the commissioner speaking of persons misuse of mask. I mean holding the mask, put it under the chin, put it by the ears, put it on the forehead, put it in the pocket.
It's a fashion statement.
Yes.
In cases.
You know, I mean, do we understand the reason for having the mask? Ou suppose any mask pour empêcher vermina ton bouchou because it cannot go through your skin. But when you have it in your hand, if you eat, sous manger rien, il y a un en bouche. So on y peut bon là toucher un di quoi qui rend les masses la vers maintenant. Et pour mener descendre, ou toucher pour nous. It defeats the purpose. You know, so we are saying and we are appealing again and we are saying to the public out there, simply saying, si on est masse là, les filles, il n'y a pas de persuasion pour qu'on met masse là, et que vous même la main ça, et que vous ayez un poche ou main pour nous, et que dit, ou qu'à protecter quoi, you protecting yourself. You are holding the mask. There's a way of holding the mask and even, you know, using your mask. You remove it from behind and you hold to the edge of the mask and you put it aside if you have to. You know, Saudi anyway, I mean, it literally, I mean, you're asking yourself, est-ce que passable? Do you know? I mean, this is the constant fight we have, but I guess it's a kissing scenario where
and we must commend the Bureau of Health Education. I mean, the PSAs that have been put out, posters, billboards, utilizing, you know, social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you know, NTN, our Information Command Center right here, and the other media houses. So to say that persons do not know, Matitan, you know, I think we're going to touch on the whole garbage thing in a bit. You know, even that's an issue. And we've said it here, there have been PSAs and announcement that there'll only be one garbage collection day per week now. But you pass around up to yesterday in my area, you saw persons still putting out their garbage. And the information have been there. If your garbage collection is Tuesday and Friday, there'll only be one day now per week, only the Tuesday. We've said it, the information is there, but sometimes maybe persons hear but they don't listen, or they hear but they don't understand. I'm not sure what the problem is, you know, but it's a challenge to communicate the correct information consistently and constantly.
But hats off though, Tony, I must say, driving down this morning, I mean, I was amazed, totally amazed to see the amount of persons who are complying when it comes to being in public and the mask. I mean, every other person you saw had a mask.
Yes.
They were wearing the mask. I mean, kudos. We have to say on the other hand, it's not all, you know, it's one set of persons spoiling it for others. But you have to say, who didn't have a bandana, had the kerchief. I mean, persons literally went out and understood. So which means the message is out there.
Across.
You know, I mean, it's just a matter of continue, you know, reminding people and I think concentrating on the fact that what could happen if you don't. It's not on nobody's face.
And since you mentioned the bandana, another note we must point out there, several persons have seized the opportunity to create masks for sale now, and you see them quite fashionable, using the madras material, what have you, and we see persons also wearing those of us who have to be out there wearing a mask probably to match our shirt, our pants, you know, to still kind of make that statement out there. But the important message is that the mask is important and that you need to wear it, and even when you go to the supermarket, that the authorities, the security is there to ensure that persons comply the 6 feet as well as wearing the mask.
The sanitizing too. I must say, kudos to business places. You find as soon as you walk in, you know, you have a security, you have a door attendant who, you know, spray your hands to sanitize, just, you know, as a precautionary measure. So, I mean, it is out there. Persons know what it is. I say it sometimes is like you were saying, Tony, what we want to hear. It's almost like what we want to hear, and for some reason some persons are just, but hats off, messieurs, nous ka di encore exou ka kachile sa ka fait ici, nous ni ka vie visiter ça qui fait pour semaine nan, information qui te sorti hot premier ministre là vini pour qui ça qui ka fait vini changer c'était holiday pack. Et après Pâques, lundi, mardi, pays a des vies ouverts, et tout le monde a catché qui ça qui a fait. Et le Premier ministre l'a annoncé, il a bail permission pour l'autre business qui a vendu marchandises, et puis l'autre matériaux pour un hikayo, pour glow, c'est différents business là, il a permis pour ouvert. Après ça, nous avons Bradley Felix, il vient et puis dit, l'année dernière, on a pour une permission pour ouvert. C'est pas n'importe business juste qui est ouvert, juste comme ça. Il vient qui dit, on est pour faire application. Et là où fait application, il y a dit oui, et bien non, ou ça ouvert, et que ça dépend de qui ça va vendre. Et que ça c'était pour business qui va vendre ces matériaux ou briser encore pour manger caillou, pour un bail, d'or, citenu, fitaille caillou. Et le Premier ministre, l'homme non, il dit hurricane, il dit nous en temps sec là. Et ça, c'est ces places qui vendent ces marchandises et puis ces produits ça. Et puis après ça, nous avons un commissionnaire, il vient. Pour qui raison nous avons un commissionnaire, nous toutes ces limo, moun qui just en quoi, yo teni pour di moun ou passant trouver en yon zone qui te yon allant dans l'autre. C'est faux ou ni permission. Et nous ka ve tout ça, nous ka parler en lèg, nous ka vie répéter, nous ka dit monsieur, nous là ka combattre 20 000 toujours. 20 000 poko disparaître, 20 000 nous poko ni pièce 8 mètres bali. Et nous ka ouais ça qui a fait l'autre pays. Pour nous ka encourage pour coûter laver la main là toujours et puis savon. Du bout de moun 6 pieds, il a toujours. Nous tenons ces gens minibus nous avons touché en ça. Ou supposé acide, loin assez, sous ka toucher un coup de bois, ou sous un public, mettez masse là. Mais c'est nous avons dit tout ça, nous avons fait public là ça avec. Nous avons dit, nous une discussion là, nous avons fait ça, bagay poko vie normal. Merci mon Dieu, nous poko ni pièce la mort, et pour date, 15 moun nous ni toujours. Pour date ça nous connaître mais nous voulons Tchébéleg nous voulons Saint-Lucie savent nous pourquoi we made by COVID-19 il a toujours féminin là toujours and I mean the call is there I mean what we could do is just encourage people.
Yes, yes.
Essentially.
Yeah.
On the upside, as you mentioned, persons being compliant in terms of wearing their masks. And so we had the 30 persons arrested, but the public relations officer and the Commissioner of Police did acknowledge that there was a decrease in common crimes during this term. They say that they have, however, been responding to more domestic disputes than usual. So we have the Acting Commissioner explaining that.
There have been a decrease in criminal activity during the shutdown. However, there have been instances where we see disputes. You have more family disputes because everybody home. So everybody home, so you have more disputes at home. Parents, mother, father with daughter, or with
domestic.
Domestic, because everybody is there and persons can vent. Okay, unlike when persons were out and then probably some persons may choose to stay out because avoiding certain things, but you were in there, so you were getting it there. So we have had instances of domestic abuse in a little increase. Okay. But in terms of the common crimes, we have seen a decrease in it.
Okay, that was the Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Milton Daisy, speaking on the decrease in common crimes overall. Despite the 30 arrests and charges for the violation of the curfew, there has been generally a decrease in common crimes. However, he has also noted that police have been responding to more domestic disputes than usual. We will be talking more on that statement made by the Acting Commissioner of Police and more as we take a look at the week that was. Do stay tuned. We will be right back. We're due for a break.
Because of how quickly the coronavirus spreads, each new case calls for increased public vigilance. Know what is happening, understand why, and comply. Think of the protocols as war tactics. Personal protection tactics. Keep 6 feet away from others. Avoid riding the bus, gathering on beaches, in bars, and shops. Public protection tactics. Quarantine yourself if you feel fluish in case you have been exposed. Call 311 or a respiratory clinic for advice. Country tactics. Partial lockdown. Supermarkets, small grocers, pharmacies and ATMs are accessible before curfew. Total lockdown. Everywhere stays closed 24/7 for a stipulated period. Team tactics. Don't only follow the protocols. Be a protocols police. Let's win this.
Together let us win this war. Say to shall be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, a special top of the morning to you. We hope you are good, safe, and healthy wherever you are. For those of you viewing residents in St. Lucia, thank you for joining. We hope you are abiding by the emergency protocols, staying in at your home as much as possible. For our St. Lucians living in the diaspora, we understand the situation over there and we hope that you are safe and sound. Quite unfortunate that we got a report from Dr. Joycelyn Clark Fletcher last week that we've been having St. Lucia nationals succumbing succumbing to COVID-19. We will be getting an update from her in the new week, the week to come, on any further updates as it relates to the status of nationals living abroad. Before we went to the break, we got a clip from the Acting Commissioner of Police speaking on the overall decrease in common crimes. Yes, we've had 30 arrests since the scale down of commercial activity, the scale down of economic activity on island. 30 arrests for violation of the curfews. However, there has been a decrease in common crimes overall. He did, however, note that the police were responding to an unusually higher number of domestic dispute cases, and that is something we have been talking about in studio. Something that's almost like a natural progression of things. If you are confined in your home,
the same space,
exactly,
for an extended period
of
as well.
time, whatever issues that may be existing in the family will froth up to the top at one point or or another. Issues that have been laying dormant because people rushing to work and going to school and not really interacting during the course of the weeks, during the course of their lives, they now have to face each other.
Yep. And it's almost as if we could recall having human services over here, and I specifically remember she saying, when it came to persons, and she said it was either a man or woman, domestic violence, and those persons now being literally in the same confinement as the victim and perpetrators, both of them there. And it's ironic that the commissioner came and he was saying, crime, we see a little lull, not as before, but the domestic, which goes on to say other issues we probably just let pass by. Persons are living together now. Persons are in the same community. And just like Jesse said, but needless to say, persons learning to deal with each other.
And on that aspect, one of the things that some of us tend to forget, this week I had Miss Andrea Alcid. She's a community worker in terms of the elderly or older persons, and she was also saying that they have been getting some reports of abuse when it comes to older persons at home and confined, and not just at the homes for the elderly, but at home with their own relatives, and they have had to respond to some of those cases. And she have offered some advice as to how to take care of some of those persons, how to respond to them, because they also are anxious. They also are trying to cope with this whole thing. She gave the incentive, even if her own mother going to visit her mother, and her mother wanting, the usual hug, and she having to explain to her mother, like, for now, there has to be this, physical distancing, and, having to explain this thing and constantly reminding them that, this is how it is for now, and hopefully if we could all practice the right protocols, we will get over this hurdle eventually.
And it's so ironic, and I am happy you mentioned that, Tony, that person seems to feel, okay, I haven't seen my grandmother for a while, I haven't seen, let me take the kids to see Granny.
Yes.
And then we are saying again, the children, they could be healthy carriers, the immune system intact, nothing wrong, and for all you know, what you're bringing to your mother is just, the COVID-19.
Right. So what is advised is a phone call, let them hear the voice of the kids, a video call if you can, and have that interaction over the phone, constantly reminding them, or just speaking with them, or sharing a light moment with them.
And again, needless to say, we do not have testing facilities that all about the place. If you have the symptoms, CMO and them were clear to say if you show any symptoms, you feel you could access the polyclinic, you could go to VH, which has been designated at that. But to say you could just watch, take it on your own, to say, you know what, I feel well, I'm good, I do not think I have it, is an understatement. Again, better be safe than sorry.
Indeed. And speaking of that, we've had some more good news. 11 persons have recovered from COVID-19. 15 cases, yes. We look at the statistics, we will have 15 cases until further mention. We will have 15 cases on St. Lucia's name for COVID-19, but thankfully 11 of these 15 have recovered from the disease. So we have a clip from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar George announcing those recoveries. Take a look.
Follow-up tests were also conducted on the confirmed cases in care, and to date, a total of 11 of the confirmed 15 COVID-19 patients have recovered and have been discharged from the hospital. Presently, there are 25 persons in quarantine and 20 in isolation.
And that speaks to the efforts of the health system at this point. We know all hands have been on deck in terms of dealing with this COVID-19 situation. The relocation of Victoria Hospital staff and operations to the OKEU hospital to make the Victoria Hospital respiratory one. So there are definitely efforts underway to try to contain and manage the cases that are emerging here on island. As Dr. Sharon Belmar mentioned, the Chief Medical Officer, follow-up tests were conducted, and it was found out that the 11 individuals of the 15 had recovered on island. Just to let you know, 2 have been repatriated to the United Kingdom, and so that means we have 2 others here on island in isolation being treated for the coronavirus disease. So please take note of that. We only have in St. Lucia at this point 2 persons who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 who are now being treated for it. The 11 others have been cleared and they've recovered from this disease.
Just vraiment dire en bas là ça moi que est bien important pour nous savent les CMO qui c'est chef officier médical Saint-Lucie Dr. Belmar George les bonnes informations ça il dit en 15 semaines nous teni Saint-Lucie yo te observé qui contacté 20 000 Covid là de Javier yo voyez c'est moun Javier l'Angleterre et puis nous ni 11 qui ja bien assez pour yo voyer yo kayo yo a traité yo voyer kayo et nous dans l'autre dé à présent yo ka avec ka traité quoi moi ka quoi les vini pour situation peut-être c'est pour ça nous quoi nous ja passé ben nous pas un problème encore mais moi vle di Saint-Lucien ça c'est ça yo ni tan mette la main à sous ça c'est ça nous a traité ça c'est ça nous ni tan mettez en isolation et traité nous voulons dire cette lycée la peine du monde doit avec nous pas have vous comprenez quoi pour actuellement c'est les mois quand nous deni 15 déjà nous voyons vier l'Angleterre nous ni déca traité toujours et puis 11 monde qui a vié qui yo traité nous pas vle monde quoi that qui as a résultat de ça tout bagaille bon. Nous ban pièce là more pièce and that is the important thing because we had Dr. Radix and she was telling us we have deaf right next door Martinique. Guadeloupe you know and for persons to believe this is all over and done with I think is an understatement.
Yes, certainly. And talking about this, I mean a number of our Caribbean neighbors, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, even Barbados close by, you know, they have unfortunately experienced persons dying as a result of COVID-19. So, like we keep on saying, we are not out of the woods. It is not the all clear. We hear talks of certain countries experiencing, you know, a second wave, you know, after the number of cases have dropped. So, it is quite unpredictable, but we constantly remind persons to practice the necessary protocols.
And with that, I go to a few press releases. We have a press release from the St. Lucia Solid Waste Management Authority. A reminder to the general public that they wish to advise the public that all residents will continue to receive 1 residential waste collection per week until advised otherwise. Regular collection will only be undertaken on the first collection day of each week. If your first collection day is normally a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, you will receive collection only on that day. Bulk waste collection will remain suspended until further notice. All are encouraged to adhere to the new schedule in order to maintain clean communities. Now, that ties right back into proper hygiene, clean environment to ensure that we stem this tide of COVID-19. So you mentioned earlier of persons just, you know, still putting out their waste, thinking that it's business as usual as it pertains to the collection of waste by Solid Waste Management Authority. It's not 2 days. They are advising that residents will continue to receive 1 residential waste collection per week until advised otherwise.
Ek mwen just ka vle répéter ça manze Jesse de là là vini pour autorité qui responsable pour ramasser zordi solid waste yo kay vle public lan sa avec yo kay vle changer là vini pour situation nous dans là public lan supposé ça avec yo ka dou si ou te ka trouver zordi ramasser yon 2-3 fois par semaine yo ka dou premier date et ben premier jour en semaine ça zordi ramasser ça c'est date là yo kay ramasser zordi par exemple si ou te ka hen zordi ramasser lundi et puis vendredi à présent zordi kay toujours kay trouver koy ramasser les lundis quand a trouvé qu'on informer nous de ka discuter ça plus bonheur là ni moun ka mette zordi dehors toujours yo hamado pour chen zordi akay pour date là parce que dans commune là passé que malpropre là où ça qui a fait épisode parce que si zordi supposé ramasser en lundi par exemple et ou mettez zordi dehors lundi mardi ça veut dire zordi la pour yon semaine chien wat n'importe animaux bagay kay point zordi avec semaine quand monsieur nous ka dit souple kopo et puis les autorités si zordi ka ramasser lundi mettez dehors pour lundi a pas dit ça chen ni kayou panni en côté mettez en dans bay couveille parce que il prend bon bagay nous pas vle nous dans l'autre situation là vini pour zordi ka semaine tout partout il pas ka ve belle c'est comme si oui moun pas have encore avertissement là et puis yo ka dou si zordi trouver koy ka ramasser les lundi et ben les mardi mettez dehors sous jour ça souple pour qui ni pli c'est pli gros zordi fridge stove c'est go bagay ça yo dou chebe ça toujours à présent yo pas ramasser yo dou bout ramasser ces zordi ça mais yo kay fait en dans temps pour venir yo kay fait annoncement ça so very important there and I think you alluded to that which I mean it's a sore eye to see the amount of garbage people just and I mean you're putting it there you could very well just have the garbage at your house.
Yeah. But the other side to that, Cooks, I'm sure we've all observed it, driving along the roadways and byways, the lack of plastic bottles all over the place because persons are at home.
Sure.
And I think that's another thing that COVID-19 has exposed, you know, because we've done it in the past, you know, just throwing garbage all over the place, all along the streets. And now we see in the place, you know, with less persons around, you know, so what is going to happen beyond COVID-19? How are we going to continue this, you know, that practice of, you know, just the indiscriminate disposal of garbage and plastic all over the place? I mean, some of us, we talk constantly how we love our country. Yes. Well, if we do, one of the things we'll be concerned about is that the physical appearance of our country. You know, so this is something that we really have to take note of. Those of us who can come out now and then, just take a look around you and just take a look at how beautiful the place is, minus all of this garbage. And if we could all play our part to continue keeping it that way beyond COVID, I think that will be one of the victories, you know, that we could experience.
Definitely.
Continuing on the timeline of this week, I think Sunday had quite a few developments. Sunday had the announcement by the Prime Minister and the CMO. We had the very successful telethon raking in $2.5 billion. And we had the Minister for Education, Dr. Gail Rigobert, the Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, announcing that the third term of the academic year would be a learning from home term beginning 20th April. That is Monday coming. We have more information for those of you who have not been in the loop with things. We have more information. Ahead of this, we had this week school principals meeting with staff to plan for the operationalization of this new structure and this new operation of things. Teachers were to commence a week-long training this week in the use of approved virtual platforms and outreach to students. And we spoke to ICT officials from the Ministry of Education as well as the South Lewis Community College this week, giving us some more information and a greater understanding as to what and what form will this learning, virtual remote learning, what shape it will take. But first we have a clip from the Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, Minister for Education, on making the announcement that it will be a learning from home term starting 20th April.
The proposed intervention for the third term starts with acknowledging that school is likely to remain closed during that period, contingent upon the advice of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Therefore, the third term will be a learning from home term. We can all agree that these are challenging times, and the way we deliver to or serve our students in the education sector of necessity will change. Already, I have seen remarkable demonstrations of creativity and innovation by our educators. The proposed interventions will require us to be even more flexible and nimble as we seek to ensure that our nation's children are not disadvantaged and that instruction is provided in a manner that ensures no child is left behind.
Thank you very much for taking a look at that clip there from Dr. Gail Rigobert speaking on the learning from home school term, and that announcement was made on Sunday. That was Easter Sunday. Dr. Gail Rigobert there. Remote learning interventions will be differentiated based on grade levels and forms, and that was announced also by Dr. Gail Rigobert. No new syllabus concepts will be introduced during this term. So you will not, your child or your ward will not be expected to learn new concepts that they will be quizzed on or tested on this term. It will simply be the reinforcement of term 1 and term 2 studies instead. And just to give you an update on the examinations, the testing for the year, minimum standards tests have been cancelled for grades 2 and 4. We have common entrance exam that has been postponed until health officials deem it safe to do so. Of course, we will also see prior to the common entrance examination, teachers and students being receiving psychological and guidance before that examination to ensure that they are prepared for it. Also, in the coming days, the ministry will advise on the protocol for the collection of activity sheets and textbooks, which would have remained at some schools in time for the commencement of the third term. So common entrance papers will be revised to ensure that it is aligned with the grade 5 and grade 6 term 1 curriculum. It will comprise solely of the multiple choice component, and I think that's very important to note. If you have a child or a ward preparing for common entrance, it is coming. We cannot confirm. This is all contingent on word from the Ministry of Health as to when it is safe to do so. However, just to note that the common entrance exam papers are now being revised to ensure that it is aligned with grade 5 schoolwork and grade 6 schoolwork term 1 curriculum. So we have a clip from the Minister for Education, another clip going into the platforms that will be used, as well as confirmation on the date of the reopening of school.
It is being proposed then that the third term commence on 20th April 2020. The week beginning 13th April will afford administrators and teachers time to meet virtually to plan each school's operational intervention and to undergo training, upskilling, and retooling in the use of digital and media technologies. Though, admittedly, several training sessions have been conducted in the use of various platforms, it is necessary that more targeted sessions on the use of the platforms be convened.
Secondary school instruction will be heavily reliant on the use of Google Classrooms and Google Suites. Parents and guardians are to ensure that their students create Gmail accounts for this modality. CSEC, that's CXC, announces all 2020 testing will be done via digital mode, and you would have seen this week the Ministry of Education giving some more insight as to its level of preparation, its capacity for this, and the revving of anything that is left to do in terms of accommodating the examinations being done via digital mode and also e-learning for this term. Discussions on rescheduling of CSEC and CAPE are ongoing with regional governments. Of course, the timing for this, we look at COVID-19, the great interruption to all things that we considered normal. CAPE and CXC, they're now looking at it to see when we can hold these exams. We did have the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Education, Ms. Michelle Charles, as well as the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip Meyer, sitting in with us earlier this week, providing a very comprehensive overview of how the Ministry of Education will be tackling e-learning for this third term, the learning from home term. And one of the things that was mentioned, of course, everything that we have talked about so far, including the words of the Minister for Education, was outlined. One of the things that was added was that the Ministry of Education is welcoming the donation of technological devices to distribute to students in need for the e-learning this term. We have a clip from Michelle Charles, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry.
I've had a number of persons approach me asking, how can we help? I have computers, I have laptops at home that I am not using. They're in very good condition. How can I contribute towards the ministry's cause as it relates to reaching those vulnerable students? And so I'd just like to appeal to those parents, organizations who have computers, tablets, laptops that are not being utilized but still in very good condition, to let them know that this can be provided to the Ministry of Education, and our IT team will do the necessary cleanups, ensure that the necessary software is on there, and provide that device to our students, to allow students to access the information that is going to be sent to them. And should somebody want to contribute to that cause, these devices can be dropped off at our various district offices or at the Ministry of Education. Of course, the process is going to be one that allows for that takes into consideration health and safety matters.
We wanted to state and emphasize the reality based on Ms. Charles's statements there, that we are in a state of emergency and arrangements have had to be made for our students within the education system. Unfortunately, not everyone is as fortunate to have technological devices to be able to keep up with the e-learning experience. Unfortunately, if we don't see persons stepping up, if we don't see the technological devices coming in as we need, we may witness, students falling through the cracks. And we want to avoid that. And hence, the Ministry of Education, welcoming any donations of technological devices from persons from the general public, from businesses that are willing to make this donation. Ultimately, it is for the kids, those who are vulnerable. We want to ensure that they continue their educational experience as best as possible under this new circumstance that we have gotten into, that we caught unawares as to it, and the Ministry of Education is trying its best to accommodate and to make arrangements in light of this. So if you do have a technological device that you would like to donate, it is in fairly good condition, as she mentioned, and you'd like to donate it, you can bring it down to any one of the district offices, the district education offices, or the Ministry of Education, or contact the Ministry of Education to let them know that you have this donation to make. It will go a long way towards the education, the continued engagement of education for a child.
And further to that, we also heard mention that some of the companies, Digital, for example, stepping up to the cause and providing MiFi devices for persons who did not have connection. And one of the things the Permanent Secretary also mentioned was the fact that the ministry had just launched an e-books program targeting, students from Form 2. Students who had selected their CXC subjects, from Form 2. Those students were provided with those devices that are content ready. It's not just about giving a child a computer or what have you, but making sure that the correct content in line with the syllabus is provided on those devices as well. And you mentioned about persons making the donations, and oftentimes when certain entities have fundraising ventures and things of that nature, some persons may turn up their nose at it. But I was watching the news this week, and in states like Chicago and even New York, you had persons doing the very same thing. You had one individual, and in New York, an agency getting laptops to refurbish for marginalized students. We take for granted, we see the great United States and we figure that, okay, everyone has a computer, everyone has a laptop, everyone is connected, you know. But even in these countries, the challenges are there, you know, because COVID caught us literally unawares. We were caught off guard with this thing, you know. So a lot of those interventions that were in training about to be rolled out, you know, we've had to step up with the technology, ensuring that everyone is connected and what have you, and then they have access. You know, you have the ICT centers being established and what have you. But even that, the protocols are being put in place so that some of those children could access, you know, those ICT centers. Bearing in mind that we still have to maintain the physical distancing and responding to all the protocols that have been put in place.
Merci Anchaï pour ça Tony. Si vous avez nous écouter nous sur radio et TV nous sur GIS NTN, discussion qui continue ici en studio headquarters 20 Covid là, ça c'est ici à GIS NTN. Et puis moi ici à bon matin nous ni mademoiselle Jessie et puis nous ni Tony. Et nous viens visiter tout ça qui fait en semaine nous sur éducation et yon a ces bagages là qui trouve quoi yo bien affecté. C'est là vini pour maman l'école venu pour ces teachers éducation et puis honorable Gil Rigobert a adressé nation et quand chaque bagaille vient clair chaque question répond parmi eux c'est à présent c'est maman là qui trouve quoi yo ka apprendre hod kayo la teacher avec maman kay ni pour ka contacter puis on a l'autre et que kay ni pour faire ça par internet et quand chaque question vini là ka discuter ça fait maman ka apprendre hod kay la computer internet c'est teacher laptop équipement qui besoin pour ça et comme ils savent explanation te bail nous teni PS dans hod éducation était dans ici et puis nous et puis yon c'est officier ministère Dr Fiona et ça qui fait là c'est décision point date qui maman qui attendait l'école li 20 ça c'est lundi li 20 avril et puis manière qu'il fait là c'est date qui maman qui hen travail là yoni pour faire l'école là par computer yon a ces problèmes là c'est pas toute maman qui ni yon laptop yon computer caillou ben juste internet nous teni explanation qu'a venu ici à hier monsieur Jermaine Anthony il était ici à hot ministry qui dit si même ça ouais en chai c'est moun ça ka trouvé quoi un tourné et puis c'est teacher et encourager parents. C'est pas parce que yo ka fait accommodation by ces teachers pour yo même en chaque yo kan apprendre ça aussi mais parents ça qui bien important parents ni pour faire assurer yo même mettez ko yo en position pour apprendre pour yo même moucher ces mamay là pour yo même en contacter puis ces teachers et les collègues ministériels et pourquoi ils savent tout ça qu'a fait parce que ces mamay là kay là yo manier ben l'autre yo ni pour continuer faire travail l'école yo ça qui est bien important qui était mentionné ici c'est date qui yo pas kay mouche c'est maman là rien neuf vous comprenez c'est maman là qui continuer à sous ça yo apprendre vieux oui visiter ça yo a fait à sous ligne de maman qui pani laptop en pile te fait mou qui ni yon ou pas ka servi kayou yo ka dou sa mener entrer en ministère ou qui vle bay support et donner et ben di ou ni plus passer yon yo ka accepter ça parce que yo ka di yo ka to avant là yo ka me ça y mentia si mentia rien et puis assister yon petit maman qui bien besoin pour l'autre ça qui peut pas faire arrangement pour amasser travail là c'est maman là ni pour faire homework et puis ça trouver quoi arranger puis teacher ou ni pour contacter teacher il était bien important aussi pour observer yo dit là venu pour maman qui plus vulnérable maman qui était dépendre sur l'école pour manger yo kay continuer ça avec information ça ou kay henni aussi quand tout le monde a demandé qui manière kay fait il était bien important pour nous savoir nous tout ka apprendre pas du temps nous aller ça pas jamais fait quand on bien dit c'est une situation nous trouver qu'on nous dedans pas du temps nous aller nous apprendre quand yo ka demander quand comment ka faire pile ça lundi pour l'école ou temps qui kay ouvert lundi les 20 écoutant travail l'école qui commencer à sous computer sur internet nous ka demander parents nous rassembler bagay là examiner situation et qui manière ou même ça adjuster quand ou même ça trouve une manière pour assister ces mamay là parce que yon nan se bagay la ministère a bien dit yo pas vle quitter pièce mamay l'école derrière quand il kay un bagay neuf bay ces mamay là mais moi ni vle dire encore ou comparant ni pour faire si ou là ni pour faire ou ni pour faire pour aider issue et bien pour aider ces mamans là. Parmi l'autre bagay nous kay bien vle tout là venir pour minimum standard ou tant information nous ça trouver quoi cancellé c'est pour ces maman iti l'école grade D puis 4 là venir pour common entrance ça c'est yon ces bagay là yo l'omeno ou kay savent manière yo kay fait à présent explanation yo kay ba oui encore les nous teni monsieur Jomaine Anthony Hod ministre éducation et a dit manière kay fait yo kay servi computer internet là qui c'est yon bagay encore pour suivre protocole ou ça yo kay ni pour mener quand te maman ensemble si yo ka fait par computer ici yon bagay kay pli mais pour nous toutes quand là yo kay fait yo kay dit qui joue yo kay fait yo kay espérer les yo hen information hot CMO et puis ministère éducation kay fait ça parmi l'autre bail CXI aussi et puis c'est examination ça yo ka espérer et yo kay bail moun date là depuis oni yo kay ba date là CX c'est moun ça kay ba nous information parce que ou kay savent c'est yo bagay qui ka fait pas cette liste seulement mais en Caraïbes là quoi tout en tout sous bien observer ça qui a là nous ka demander moun pour ni patience corporelle et faire ça ou ni pour faire parce que question c'est est-ce que vous voulez issue était des quoi on ni pour faire ça ou ça fait c'est pas pièce yo moun qui ça fait ministère pas arrêter like faire issue à pondre ou ka ni pour dire qui ça ou ça fait pour assister situation Jesse.
Thank you very much for that. And as you rightly mentioned, the Ministry of Education continues to try to support those kids, those students who are vulnerable in the community. And during this learning from home experience, it will change the dynamic in so many respects. And talking about the school feeding program, we have a clip from the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, speaking and assuring that it will continue, not in the normal way that it used to, with the face-to-face school engagement, but they will find a way to continue. She explains. Take a look.
We note as a country that many students get a warm meal at school. If the lines at the supermarket spoke to anything, it spoke to basic needs that families need to make sure that they have. And so we've had allocations for our school feeding program in place for the third term. And with our team at the Ministry of Education, we are putting in plans for nutritional support based on the feedback that we're getting from our principals in terms of some of our vulnerable families. We note that some of our children have suffered losses in terms of fires at their homes. You know, some families have lost employment. And it is really our way to reach them and to give whatever we can in a packaged way, in a safe pick up and drop off, also in a fair and equitable manner, based on the feedback that we get from our principals with various lists of students and their contact numbers. So that is being coordinated from our school feeding coordinator in conjunction with our offices in the Ministry of Education, and those packages will be made available to the public, specific to the students who need it and based on the list that we have been afforded. So it is not that we can give every family something, but it is that we're identifying our most vulnerable students.
And that was Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, the Chief Education Officer, assuring persons, you know, students, families of students who are wondering where and how they will be providing for their children under this shutdown, when under usual circumstances during the school term they would be part of the school feeding program. The Ministry of Education assures that it will be proceeding with the school feeding program. Yeah?
There are so many facets when it comes to our children, their education or what have you. And another area that has not been neglected are our students who are studying overseas. We got information from the ministry and the minister that very early on, even before the country went under complete lockdown, that arrangements were made. Students were given the option, particularly students who had scholarships from the government, whether they wanted to return home or to stay in whatever country that they were studying in. And some of them took the option, some of them are at home, some of them have remained. A number of those in Taiwan, we know for sure, are still in that country. And we've been getting some videos from some of our students studying in Taiwan, and we aired one of those videos earlier on this week. Let's just take a listen to what she had to say again.
Hey Cat TV family, I just wanted to step in and share my experience, what it's like living on the other side of the world during this pandemic. It's been relatively normal here as it pertains to classes, school, work, and everyday life. The Taiwanese government have been dealing with this situation aggressively by implementing a variety of protocols we need to follow, as well as ensuring the safety of everyone here in Taiwan. It's impressive what they have been able to do considering our proximity to where the outbreak started, which is in Wuhan, China. At my university, for example, temperature checks have been out in place at every department and entrance, followed by sanitation of hands too. Also, we need to do daily checks of our health through QR codes which have been placed at the entrance of checking. This code holds information on our footprint. Can you believe this? Our footprint. And throughout the university with our temperature details as well as where we have been. In class, we practice social distancing as well. We are no longer allowed to sit close to each other. We need to maintain a certain distance, and a photo is taken in every class so that in the event a student falls ill with the virus, officials are able to track the student's movement and notify and check those who were in the same room as the student. There have been a few cases where students and professors have fallen ill across Taiwan, including in my university. We had one case where a student fell ill. However, he never stepped foot in the university, which was amazing because it didn't cause any harm or anything to anybody else. However, he did come into contact with two students who are his friends, and those students attended classes. So with adhering to protocol, those classes were cancelled, and all the students who were a part of those classes, they were notified and asked to report their condition as pertains to how they're feeling, if they had any fever or any signs or symptoms of the virus. Those two friends who he came in contact with, they were cleared of the virus. So basically, they have done everything to ensure that everybody else who were in the same class, in the same area, they're all fine. The classes that the students attended have all been sanitized, and they have been given the all clear. There have been a few cases where some students also need to take online classes. So if their classes are cancelled, they need to take those classes online, and it has been working tremendously for a lot of students who were unable to return to Taiwan after the outbreak happened. So we have students who are still in their countries or stuck in other countries and they were unable to return. So they are able to take those classes. Their education is still, their attendance is not there physically, but their attendance online and the classes that they're able to take, the information, the notes, the assignments, they're all able to ensure that these things are given in. I would say that overall we are all playing our part in fighting against this disease and really hoping that it does not get too overwhelming here. I mean, again, the government has been doing everything that they can, and it's ridiculously amazing, and I really applaud them for everything that they have done so far. As it pertains to what the virus has done in other countries, it's really disheartening and sad what has been happening all over the world. I mean, with the death tolls that are hitting and skyrocketing in Italy, as well as the disease that has really taken over New York City and other countries, is just ridiculously disheartening. And I really hope that people are seeing exactly what is happening and the protocols that are in place as it pertains to quarantine, social distancing, sanitizing, staying away from crowded areas, as well as staying home. All of this is for our well-being and to prevent this from getting worse than it already is. I really hope that, we can come together, help each other. If you realize that somebody is not doing so well during this time, I mean, it is a really tough time. Check on them, call them, message them, just be there for each other. This is the time we actually need to, come together as communities, as families, as everything, just to provide that assistance and support for those people who are unable to say anything or who are unable to share what they're feeling. I would really like to also applaud the frontliners. I mean, wow, I cannot begin to understand what they are going through, and I know how difficult it is for them. So I would really love to applaud them. Thank you so much for everything that you have been doing for all of us, for our lives, for our safety and everything. I know it's not easy. Other than that, this is the situation here. This is the situation for us, and I'm really hoping that it gets better. It really does get better soon for everyone all over the world. So do what you need to do. Stay home, sanitize, wear your mask when necessary, practice social distancing, and do what you need to do in order for this virus to remain contained and to not get anybody else infected or displaced or anything like that whatsoever. So thank you so much.
And that was Makiba Dudley, a St. Lucian student studying over in Taiwan. Of course, there are several of our St. Lucians studying in Taiwan and receiving scholarships from the government and people of Taiwan. Taiwan is also coming to our aid. I saw recently a quantity of stuff on its way to St. Lucia to help, again, our frontline workers. Makiba just spoke very highly of the work that our frontline workers are doing and our inability to even begin to fathom what they are going through. Some of them are going through, and we are so grateful for all the assistance that we could get for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, we've seen organizations this week put their money where their mouth is, following up on pledges from the Telethon, the COVID-19 response Telethon. Just to let you know, $2.5 million has been raised plus so far for personal protective equipment for the frontliners, as well as for the National Feeding Program, which began on Sunday. So quite a lot has been happening. There's been a collaborative effort in terms of making our response to the COVID-19 situation as robust as possible. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to go to check presentations that were made in studio this week. Again, putting their money where their mouth is, following up on the pledges, making the donations. Barron Foods, St. Lucia, and the Botham Jean Foundation. When we come back, we take a look at these check presentations.
With a virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer, better yet use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No.
Advice is you to please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Welcome back to the program, the COVID-19 response here in St. Lucia. We're looking at the week that was. My name is Jessie Leonce, if you're just joining us, and I'm joined in studio by Carlton Cyril, better known as Cokes, as well as Tony Nicholas, and we're just bringing together all of the developments of the week, starting from the announcement of the Prime Minister on Easter Sunday that the partial scale down, the partial shutdown would be continued into April 26th. And of course, with that followed an announcement by by the Minister for Education of how they would be tackling this new school term. It will be happening, however, it will be a learning from home term. Of course, we've been going over from this week into this morning the arrangements that have been made. And at this juncture, we now turn over to the follow-up to the telethon. This week we had two check presentations here in studio, the Bothamshire Foundation as well as Barron Foods St. Lucia Limited making their donations, handing their checks over to the coordinators of the telethon. And this telethon was held on Easter Sunday to raise funds for our frontliners, personal protective equipment. We know that there have been shortages globally, and so it is important that our frontliners here in St. Lucia are equipped as best as possible, robust, as I said, a robust response to COVID-19. We do not know what is to come, and as we certainly should be prepared for what is happening right now. And so personal protective equipment for our frontliners, as well as the funding of, going toward the funding of the National Feeding Program, the National Meals Program. So that also got underway on Sunday. We will be providing you with an update as to how the National Meals Program has been going so far. Quite a few projects have been ongoing for the week, and we will have Daniel Dubois from the Office of the Prime Minister to provide us with an update in the new week. So the check presentations, I think we saw a $25 check being handed over from Barron Foods, St. Lucia Limited. 25,000, sorry. $25,000 a check being handed over.
And I think on
Barron
Sunday
Foods.
I saw, I was observing Isaiah Cooks. I think I saw that expression on your face of excitement and surprise when the final tally was announced. I mean, you guys were in here for a couple of hours, and then to see that amount being raised in such a short space of time, Cooks.
I mean, definitely, Tony, you would have noticed, I do not think any one of us really thought we would. I mean, initially the target was, I think, $1 million, right? It was what was the target. And I mean, when we came to that final hurdle, it was like 2.5. You know, I mean, needless to say, our GoFundMe online, the internet, I mean, at the time we were at 30-something thousand US, which means our persons abroad, the NGOs there were really coming up. And again, we could see that rose in all the thorns, you know, that while we were here, you know, saying, boy, this thing happened, we didn't just sit on our laurels, you know. So hats off to the Super 8, as they call them, the persons together, came with the whole idea of the telephone. But what I must say, we keep forgetting, or I'm happy Jesse mentioned it, the telephone wasn't only to provide that PPE equipment for our front line workers, but the aspect of the feeding program. I was really happy to know, you know, part proceeds of that went to the feeding program.
And speaking of that, Barron Foods Limited is not only giving the $25,000 in cash, they're also giving bulk of their products, their merchandise toward the National Feeding Program, the National Meals Program. So it's not only just the $25,000. I believe it's $35,000. $35,000 worth of products from their suite of condiments and so on to go towards the National Meals Program. The Bothamshire Foundation as well, an organization, I mean, you know, we all know the backstory to that, based on faith, resurgence of hope among our people, you know, based on that incident that occurred. And they were able to make a donation towards this cause, towards the COVID-19 cause here on island. And we really do appreciate the efforts of the individuals, the organizations, the persons who called in to make donations toward this COVID-19 situation. Quite a show of solidarity. Again, commendations going out to you all.
And we must also say hats off, take our hats off to the entertainers who provided the videos. And, you know, beyond that, they've really risen to the call. You know, our St. Lucian entertainers, our artists, you know, some of them doing their own PSAs, some of them involved in the official PSAs from the Bureau of Health, Education, and the Cultural Development Foundation. I mean, I had a couple of them in studio here with me this week, KO, Rob Zai Taylor, and others, you know, and they're all going through this like any one of us. And not only that, some of them, they do music full time. So they also feel in the pinch, you know, some of them who used to perform at the hotels, they're also feeling the squeeze right now. But I have been informed, and there will be a further announcement sometime probably in the next week or so that measures are being put in place to take care of our St. Lucian artists and the entertainers. So something is being put in place. I have been reassured of that, and within a week or so there will be an announcement made further to that. Something is already in place, a subsistence for those who are working within the tourism sector, but there's something further down the road coming. So we'll be here to make that announcement as the days and weeks ahead.
Ek encore monsieur sou ka calculer ça qu'a fait ici nous ka visiter semaine nan qui passé développement ou ka ça fait vermin COVID-19 affecté yon département affecté la vie yon manière par l'autre et pour vous qui peut-être pas tenir tant ça qui fait en semaine nous ici à ka visiter ka faut ça ba information ba information sur bagay qui passé bagay qui fait en semaine nan en parmi yo kay ça pour dimanche Pâques ici à nous tenir téléphone nan raison pour téléphone nan pour amasser l'argent pour ces moun qui directement en ligne COVID-19 c'est travail essentiel pour acheter matériaux yo besoin équipement yo besoin les vini pour assister puis pour yo ka fait travail yo ou kay savent là nous amasser 2.5 millions dollars 2.5 millions dollars tout le monde en yon manière ben l'autre fait contribution yo ça qui bien important avec nous kay l'on maintenant c'est l'argent ça pas sorti hot cette lycée business cette lycée avec monde cette lycée gens cette lycée tout seul. Jean l'autre pays yo nous te bay adresse là sur internet là ça fait GoFundMe et nous te dit yo te ça acheter pour St. Lucia Frontline COVID-19 response et puis c'est moun ça yo ja donné l'argent yo a assisté là vini pour ça les ministres honorable Dominique Fede vini ici en semaine il dit nous pour date nous a presque $60,000 Jean Massé et vous êtes bien content pour ça yo quitté ouvert pour l'autre 30 jours quoi et ka bout les 12 mai. Les 12 mai, ces dernières journées, s'ouvre les contributer, s'ouvre les faire en donation, yon manier ban l'autre ouvre les bail. Et nous avons dit ça t'es bon tellement, qui ouais, Baron Foods Vinicia, et yo même te promet, quand yo te promet, yo tient promet ça, yo te ici, yo bail $60,000, 35 ans ça ka aller pour produire, et ça, yo même, marchandise, yo même, et l'argent $25,000, et ça ka aller pour soins à sous programme Premier ministre pour soins monde qui pli vulnérable. Nous aussi ouais bon femme Jean organisation ça fondation ça yo vini et yo ban nous yo bay téléphone yo te promet $5,000 nous yo ici à café ça aussi quoi yon nous tout le monde qui vient avec nous ka dit monsieur ça c'est un bon bagay toujours et nous faut changer aussi adresse là limoire là toujours quoi on est pour s'ouvrir ou ça contribuer les venir pour ça quoi tout en tout nous ka en tout ça qui aller bon nouvelle qui sorti yon côté et ben l'autre.
Absolutely. Also just to mention that funds are also being raised for our St. Lucia's COVID-19 situation, PPE for frontliners, as well as the National Meals Program on the GoFundMe page. The goal, the target is $400,000. I believe as of Thursday, it was at $60,000. We will be providing you with an update on the point it's at in the coming week. But you can make donations via the GoFundMe page. The target is $400,000. We're trying to raise as much funds as possible to provide for our frontliners and those vulnerable and marginalized in our society. Again, on the frontliners, we had police officers. We got word from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. They were very pleased with the generosity of the public from the telethon in raising funds at the telethon to provide them with the necessary equipment to deal with COVID-19, to lead in the fight against COVID-19. We have a clip from the Acting Commissioner of Police, Milton Daisy, from his interview earlier this week.
Actually, we have I have met with some of the officers. Some have called, and then they are very pleased that they are pleased that this amount was raised, because some of the things that we sometimes are lacking is the these equipment, the personal protective equipment for officers to be on the road, and believe that especially with this type of funding and the reasons why it was raised, so they are happy with it.
The government is now planning a phased reopening of commercial activities as long as St. Lucia is able to contain community transmission of COVID-19. And this week we noticed that when the Prime Minister made the announcement of the phased reopening, this attracted much varied responses from the general public. And we sought to this week just emphasize that the reopening phase was just in its planning stages by cabinet. They were just making considerations.
Yes.
Should things should things abate, we can open. The all clear is given by ministry officials. Then we can have a phased reopening. And I think certain persons perhaps misunderstood the wording of the Prime Minister, and thankfully so we we're able to bring some clarification to that. We want to play the clip and continue the dialogue on that.
That we've agreed at Cabinet to appoint a committee to work with the private sector and all the public health departments to start now putting the protocols in place for the full operationalization of our commercial activity. I'm indicating to you we're putting a plan in place, but we have not implemented that as yet. We are going to maintain the partial shutdown until April 26.
And that was the Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Shastney, speaking on the planning of a phased reopening of commercial activities as long as St. Lucia is able to contain community transmission of COVID-19. Of course, there was some level of panic, persons thinking, oh, there's going to be an opening, the country is going to reopen, and we're not out of the woods yet. And the Prime Minister never stated that there was going to be a phased reopening after April 26th. He said the phased reopening of the economy was being planned, and it would be rolled out, of course. That would be contingent on the word from the health officials, from the Ministry of Health, the CMO Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar-George. We are now due for another break. When we come back, we want to open the lines. We want to hear from you what you have been experiencing so far in your community. What is your response, and how do you feel about the learning from home term and this arrangement made by the Ministry of Education? What are your thoughts on the outcome of the telethon and the word from the Commissioner of Police that going forward there will be a zero tolerance policy for businesses and individuals who violate the Emergency Powers Ordinance? Do stay tuned. We open the lines when we come back.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
St. Lucia ka registre vermin corona ek I ka fait mouvement ek an chay vitesse tan chaque canef ka kouye pour vigilance publique la fait wolo parler en place publique kon bol en main base ti boutique changer distance sociale 6 pieds hot yon a lot I ka travay tan si ou senti ko pa cordial quarantine ko pas en contact et puis l'autre en cas où te toi pe exposé c'est un écouye free 11 ou ben n'importe clinique yo pou les pays a dimi à clé ça veut dire les supermarkets pharmacie et puis ATM yo accessible avant c'était souhait pays à clé en plein ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vermine corona. Si nous toutes servi Jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. Say we shall be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. For those of you just joining us, quite unfortunate, you're joining us at the tail end of our program for the day. My name is Jessie Leonce, in studio Carlton Cyril and Tony Nicholas. We've been going over the week that was, essentially from the Prime Minister's announcement that the extended partial shutdown would be extended into April 26th, as well as opening of hardware and home supply stores to accommodate drought conditions, drought season and hurricane season preparations. We also had the telethon. We had the Minister for Education announcing that it would be a learning from home term, this school term for the last term for the academic year. We also heard this week, Thursday, from the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Milton Daisy, giving us an update that 30 people have since been arrested and charged for violating the curfew, not to mention also persons being turned away at the zoning checkpoints at the Borderley Gap, the Tikai Gap. So there has been a great work underway to ensure that persons are compliant, that the law is enforced. In addition to that, going back to the Ministry of Education's work in terms of ensuring that we have a good rollout of the learning from home term, the school feeding program will continue. An appeal welcoming the laptops and other devices to help students who are marginalized, the vulnerable students in our communities, to be part of the learning from home term, have a very efficient grasp of, be very involved in that learning from home term experience. So we want to hear from you this morning what your thoughts are on these developments for the week. Of course, it is things change from week to week. 1 week we're under a full national shutdown. Another week we're under a reduced curfew. So we have a call. Hi, good day.
Hi, good day. I'm just tuning in and I have a few questions. I just wanted to verify, I understand that you guys, you want people to stay indoors and all that under, the circumstances, which is understandable, but my query here is, when is NIC going to have the website updated and ready to serve the people who are in need?
Okay, just to assure you, touching on the NIC subject, we know it was a point of much contention. Some persons were were anticipating being able to access and speak to NIC officials with regard to getting the allowance from being affected from the COVID-19 layoffs and whatnot. Just to assure you, the pronouncements by the Prime Minister will be happening. The NIC will be providing the allowance to persons who have been laid off due to COVID-19. At the moment, the NIC is preparing administratively and otherwise for this, and we hope that you can be patient for this rollout. They will be making a statement hopefully in the new week, but we can assure persons who may be concerned, anxious, panicky, that this will come to pass. The Prime Minister has made the statement, and the NIC is now making preparations, again administratively and otherwise, to ensure that this will be rolling out. Checking the NIC Facebook page, they did make mention of certain technical difficulties that they were having, among other issues in terms of rolling this out. You would imagine everything is happening, as it comes. The Prime Minister made the statement. Decisions are being made, deliberately and decisively to ensure that our people are accommodated as best as possible. And so, within this rush and this move to expedite the accommodation of the general public that has been affected by COVID-19, we now are seeing that there's some issues. But there is the assurance from the government of St. Lucia, from the National Insurance Corporation, that these persons who have been laid off due to COVID-19 need not worry. They will be given their relief as promised by the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
of course, we lost that call. I was hoping he had, I thought he had another question. Yeah, but just to assure, this is not something that the government officials are hiding from. Hello? You still on the line? Okay, we're not hearing from the gentleman. But this is a situation we know that persons have been very worried about. Initial statements made by NIC were to follow up with the Prime Minister's words, but unfortunately so they have encountered some technical difficulties, and we ask for your patience at this time. It is not that the relief promised by the Prime Minister will be delayed in any way. The Prime Minister announced that the payments for April will come through for persons who have been affected by COVID-19. Understandably so, persons have been laid off by the thousands in St. Lucia, where our reliance is on the tourism industry. That industry has been flattened due to COVID-19. We understand and we empathize with the sections of the public who have been affected in this way. A number of households, things are in the balance for them, and persons want to know what is happening for those who qualify through NIC because they've been making contributions. We just want to let you know that this will come to pass. This will be rolled out, but we're asking for your patience. Things are moving very quickly. There are efforts underway, efforts behind the scenes to expedite certain processes on the behalf of the people of St. Lucia who've been affected by COVID-19. So we ask for your patience at this time.
And we also have to mention, Jesse, that all of this is being done at a time when we still have to practice the physical distancing, the staffing of the department.
The limitations in that regard.
The limitations, you cannot have too many persons in one room at the same time doing the processes, doing the necessary checks and balancing. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that persons are not aware of. But like you rightfully said, the mechanisms are being put in place so that this thing can be rolled out by the end of April, because it is for April. So towards the end of April is when the payments are expected to be rolled out.
Encore, sous ka koute nous ici à headquarters COVID-19, GIS, Studio GIS. Et nous avons une nouvelle ligne là, nous pour pièce conseil ou péni, pièce question. Les mots ici c'est 468D-6D. 468D-6D. Merci, moi quoi nous avons sur ligne là.
Hi, good day.
Hello, good day.
Hello?
Hello?
We can't hear the caller. Okay, we lost that call, I believe.
Hello?
Hello? Hi, good day.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Are you the same caller calling back?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
I don't know how the student will be able to get a laptop, those that just need them.
Could you repeat that?
I'd like to know how the school children will be able to get a laptop, those that are in need of them.
Well, at the moment, the Ministry of Education has not specified how the students will be obtaining laptops. If you would have been following at the primary school level, the Ministry of Health will make an announcement. Ministry of Education, apologies, will be making announcements as to when parents can come in, of course abiding by the emergency protocols, physical distancing and otherwise, when they can come in to get the activity sheets, textbooks for their children to conduct studies at home. In terms of the secondary schools, at the moment we are asking, if possible, right now the school administrators are now engaging parents and ward students to ensure that they can create at least a Gmail account at this point, and if not, accommodations will be made in the beginning of the term. Of course, this is something that I would imagine in the first few weeks would take some time to normalize. So the Ministry of Education will be making an announcement as to those who are the most vulnerable, who do not have technological devices at their home, how they can get a device in their home.
Jesse, in addition to that, if I may address the elephant in the room, if we call it that. The laptop thing has been a point of contention and conversation. But let's put it in perspective and let's be real here. The former laptop program addressed only students in Form 4. So there's this misconception that there was once this laptop program giving laptops to every single child in St. Lucia. Right? And that is not true. That's the furthest thing from the truth. So that is number one. The second point is that we are faced with a new dilemma, something that we've never encountered before, where we now have to do this learning from home. The other reality is that children in our context, in our situation in the world and in other countries as well, we still rely on textbooks and printed material to do our studies. So to say now that every single child is, we need to provide every single child with a laptop, while it is important at this moment, it is still not practical right now. So for example, pre-K students and so on and kids, they are being provided with material, printed copies of material that the parents have been asked to collect from the various schools to assist them. In addition to that, the ministry had just rolled out, as I mentioned earlier on, an ebooks program that will be catering to students beginning from Form 2, whereas the previous project provided laptops for children in Form 4. So there are different variations of this whole e-learning thing that is relatively new to St. Lucia, as I said. So to give the impression that there was once a program where every single school child was provided with a laptop for learning, it is completely false.
Don't want to cut you short, Tony, but I think we have somebody on the line. Hello?
Hi. I have a question. Based on what I'm seeing, I just wanted to ask on behalf of myself and a few of my friends who are thinkers. I just want to know, is the government, is there a protocol in effect, or was there one prepared in advance for an event like what is happening, a pandemic? Or are you guys making that up as you go? Is the government making things up as they go?
I think I'd want to just comment on that, Jesse. If you were following our interview with Nemo, the director of Nemo, you would remember or recall she made mention to the influenza plan. It wasn't a virus plan, it was nothing like COVID-19, but she did make mention to St. Lucia being one of the forefronts. We are in the forefront in leading. We had what you call an influenza plan. And it does address viral pandemic. And then, yes, it took into consideration we being in a situation like that, but not specifically COVID. And just to add to that, we are being looked upon by the WHO and other organizations. They were looking at us more or less as a template. Other Caribbean countries, yes, they are using what we have. So I wouldn't say directly COVID-19, but yes, Nemo, in its thinking, there is a plan that exists.
And there's also an actual printed copy of that plan that I'm sure the caller could have access to if he's so interested. It could be made available to you through the Bureau of Health Education. There's a printed document, a handbook.
Okay, I'll go find it.
And it's also on the Nemo website. If you could access the Nemo's website, you'll be able to get a copy of this there, sir. Thanks so much. I think, Tony, another note, when it relates to the laptops and when it relates to, I think that's a burning issue everybody wants to know, when I get in a laptop. The question still remains, and we're still in the situation that you should be in contact with your school, your district officer, the school your child attends. You should be in contact at this point in time. Because to say there's one central point where you just go to pick up a laptop, and I think I would just want to say that in Creole, when it relates to laptop, laptop, bagay, nous pour parler by teacher, parler by l'école, nan ti mama yu ka ale kou ka hen an ti tak pli information pa dit an nou même ici ane. We have somebody on the line. Hello, go ahead with your contribution. Hello? Yes, hello, go ahead with your contribution.
I would like some assistance, please.
In what regards?
I am a landlord, and most of my tenants are not working. I want to know whether there's anything in place for landlord.
Well, the word that that we received from the Prime Minister, it was just an appeal for landlords on island, because this situation has caught us off guard completely, and the effects of COVID-19. We saw thousands of layoffs in the tourism industry due to COVID-19, and the Prime Minister, in one of his earlier addresses, made an appeal, a soft appeal to landlords and to other like hire purchase creditors to have grace on the tenants, have grace on the persons who are indebted to them at this time, because some persons truly do not have the means to make contributions and to make their payments at this time. So that soft appeal did come from the Prime Minister.
Yeah, and I think he was talking in terms of he being a landlord and his tenants are not paying. I think if I understood the question, that's what he was saying. But
and the landlords too, some landlords too are also feeling
the pinch. But if I recall correctly, under the stimulus package, apart from persons who contribute to NIC, the appeal was made to those other persons who may not necessarily been contributing to NIC, that they could apply via
the government of St. Lucia.
But bearing in mind, you would have to register with NIC. So I would suggest...
Once you could show that you have been earning some form of income, because in that case you like someone who's self-employed, so you're earning some kind of income. Probably you have 2 or 3 apartments renting out, and maybe you're retired and that's your form of income. So, once that could be established, there are protocols in place for that.
Just to let you know, the Prime Minister did make an announcement in addition to persons being laid off and they being contributors to NIC, they can go to NIC to get some relief, the relief assistance from NIC. There are persons who are not NIC contributors and they can go to the government of St. Lucia and register through through the government and get a $500 allowance to tide them through this crisis.
Like you rightfully mentioned, it's an allowance. It's not something to replace your former income. But
and of course, there have also been other reliefs given to help to buffer individuals, including a break on utilities, the moratorium on loans, also insurance agencies as well. So we have another call.
Oh, you still there, caller? Could you go ahead?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, caller.
I was just telling you, I am 84 years old and I've been living as a landlord for about 15 years.
Okay,
you know, and nobody paid anything for
Is there anyone who can assist you with the registration process with the government of St. Lucia?
Well, can you give me a telephone number that I can use?
Okay, I think what we will have to do is to assist you in that regard. If one of our producers in the back could take provide this gentleman with the information and perhaps take his contact information to ensure we can follow up with him on how he can get some relief at this time. Thank you very much. A landlord there calling in, stating that his tenants are unable to pay at this time. We know many thousands of St. Lucians have been put on the breadline. They are not able to meet their obligations due to losing their jobs because of COVID-19. A country reliant on tourism, naturally, this is what would have happened. And so we're trying our best. The government of St. Lucia is trying its best to bring relief to these individuals. There are ripple effects. There are ripple effects, as in the example of this gentleman calling, the landlord calling there and stating that his tenants are not able to pay. And he's an 84-year-old landlord and he is seeking some assistance in trying to get some help, at least from the government of St. Lucia.
I think another aspect of this, Jesse, we need to mention when we examine the whole situation. I think one of our interviews we had there, it was mentioned that this is a very fluid situation. There's nothing in place per se that say, here's what you do. You know, it has never,
specific
yes,
area, right?
And we see
if someone cannot pay the rent,
here is what you do.
There are broader protocols in place, but the specifics.
So we're still asking the public to, while the questions come in and the concerns, that we need to bear and have patience to know that this is unique, not only to St. Lucia, it's happening. I mean, if we are watching the news, up to last night, they're saying already when it comes to unemployment and small businesses that applied for the emergency loans in America, the States, United States, is already bankrupt. The first 3.2 billion, whatever it was, has already been bankrupt, and they are looking at for an additional amount, which goes on to show not even those with those resources. So we are saying, I mean, just bear with us, and persons could, you know, ask the questions, and while we do the social distancing and try to avoid, there are places, I think, definitely, and those informations, while we say we provide it while we have it. But in that regard, I would think NIC, you know, whatever be put in place, of course, like Jesse rightly said, in the coming weeks, we would have the information. We have someone on the line. Could you go ahead with your contribution?
Yeah, I have a question. I heard you talking a while ago, Cooks, and you said it's a unique situation and all of that. But the COVID-19, we were aware that it was a pandemic since in January, early January, and we took action in late March. How is that?
That is incorrect.
That is incorrect.
That is totally incorrect.
Inaccurate.
The government started putting things in place towards the end of February, so we cannot allow such false information to go out unchallenged. There's a timeline, and the activation of NEMAC and all of these things started rolling out towards the end of February.
But flights and everything was stopped in March.
Go ahead, sir.
Flights were stopped in March.
Okay, so I want what exactly you getting? Could you continue? What exactly your
I don't understand why you're talking like there's been such a good job being done when you were aware that there was a pandemic, and then flights were being stalled in March after how many different islands became they got the virus and everything. Until we got the virus, until it was knocking on our doorstep, we took action.
So you are saying
that a job? I'm saying that the government of St. Lucia has done a very poor job, and you all have failed us.
So even prior to us shutting down the borders, there were countries, and we were talking about hotspots for COVID-19, that were barred from, we had already implemented travel restrictions from certain countries coming in. So it was not an immediate halt of, or immediate close of the borders in March as you understand it to be. There was a phased closing of the borders. Certain countries we did not accept flights from. We did not. We stopped the cruise ships from coming in port. So there was a phased response as things were happening. And you would understand too that globally, as things happen, we're getting information from the World Health Organization, and they are trickling down information to our local officials here, and that is how the information is being disseminated. That is how the Prime Minister makes decisions, and that is why from week to week we get word, we get an address, we get an update from the Chief Medical Officer, we get an update from the Prime Minister, because as Cox mentioned, things are fluid. Things are changing. The dynamic is moving from week to week, and we just hope that you can stand in solidarity with us. Of course, nothing is going to be perfect, and we have not stated that we are doing, the Ministry of Health and the government of St. Lucia is doing a wonderful, fantastic job.
We're just here to put out the information.
Yes, there has been no claim to that. Sorry if that is what you heard, but we have outlined persons who have been who have not been complying to the Emergency Powers Act. We have persons who have not been adhering to the laws. We are stating what the situation is as it happens. This is the Information Command Center. We're bringing you information as it comes in. And so the information too has been a mix of good and a mix of bad, a mix of favorable and a mix of unfortunate. And that is what we're bringing to the table. The information that the government of St. Lucia has been planning in the planning phases for COVID-19 as it received information in a systematic way.
Thank you so much, Jesse. We have somebody on the line. Thanks for holding on. Could you go ahead with your contribution?
Yes, good morning to you, sir, and madam.
Good morning.
Je voulais expliquer ça à Creole. Je voulais wizard about travail.
Merci, Anchai.
Au passage, je me fini, comment on dit ça?
Play.
C'est tout le monde dans la terre.
Okay.
So whatever on can say un bon job. Tout le monde a problème, tout le monde a ça pour accepter, but yet on peut pas bon play ou pas accepter.
Mais nous quand bien dit là ni toute qualité monde tout différent monde quoi qu'on même pas ça plaît tout le monde quoi nous ca fait ça nous pays ici et combien ouais c'est information nous ca bailler nous ca essayer en une manière ou l'autre si nous ça va un soulagement.
Oui, so ça me voulait demander oui. Moi, je suis travailleur du gouvernement. Moi, quand on dit son parole, from bouche moun, bah, je vais écouter ça, nous regarder, bah, c'est là, je peux écouter ça, moi, quand dire, est-ce que nous travaillons du gouvernement, allez, liste, NIS, pour nous, ICF, pour nous, joindre là, nous, si nous sommes pas là, je nous dis la travail.
We now await word from the National Insurance Corporation. We were made to understand that they were experiencing some technical difficulties early on in the week. And so for which workers?
But I think the point she's making,
she's employed with
if she's still employed,
yes,
then there's no need for...
Oh, okay.
We saw some situations where in some of the hotels, that they've offered to pay a percentage of the employee's salary for a couple of months. So those persons are not entitled. It's only persons who are now unemployed and laid off.
Due to COVID-19.
Si ou lan toujou sa nou ka di pour ça nous connaître ici pour ça nous savent si un employé toujours ou ka ouvert salaire la pas pièce raison pour aller NIC encore ti aide lan qui ka bay lan c'est pour monde qui pète travail expressement pour gens qui ka travailler puis chez gens tourisme dans hôtel monde qui pète travail qui trouver ko yo affecté yon manière ben l'autre mais quand nous continuellement ka di ici nous ka ni plus information les vini pour situation NIC ka ici qui va en détail ça y a mais pour à présent c'est monde qui pète travail qui pas qu'à travail et monde qui prend travail encore.
Merci Anchai.
Nous apprécions, merci pour accueillir.
We have another call?
No. Okay. And I think rightly so, Abdul, like the lady said, what you were saying is there's a lot of misinformation out there and there are a lot of persons. I think the basis of what you were saying was that persons, you will never be able to please everybody. Right, and you're saying she find we're doing a good job over here and whatnot, but mainly she wanted to know as a government employee, you know, whether or not she's entitled to the NIC or under the strategic plan, whether she's entitled to. And if you are working and you're receiving your salary, I could say I don't think it applies to you.
There has been, as far as government workers, there have been no pronouncements made with respect to any layoffs or anything of that sort. So what go ahead.
Encore nous faut changer mon pays nous ici Limoa ici c'est 4-6 et ça nous a point assez mon asouling nous ni l'autre information nous kay vle disséminer dans moment nous kay point anti-pause et puis nous kay évier pour mais nous faut changer ça nous kay essayer faire ici c'est visiter ça qui fait en semaine c'est moun nan nous tenir information nous joindre quand parmi bagay qui semble qui était bien chose les vini pour éducation et les vini pour premier ministre là qui permettre l'autre business ouvert nous kay remercier ou qui l'a coûté puis nous éternel côté nous viens nous kay ni plus information ba ou.
Do stay tuned. We're due for a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the week that was.
But some people just
coronavirus? I am worried, Gassa. It's only old people dying from that.
Hold up. Being young does not mean being safe. Yes, it's true that the elderly are at higher risk, but anyone can get the virus. The effect is even worse if you have a chronic condition like hypertension, heart disease, lung disease, and diabetes, or weakness in your immune system. If you are living with these conditions, be extra careful. Wash your hands with soap and water. Use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol when hand washing is not possible. Avoid touching your face. Take steps to boost your immunity through proper nutrition, exercise, rest, and take your medication as prescribed. Limit being around people who have flu symptoms, even close family members.
Our health is in our hands. Together, through simple actions, we can stop the spread of coronavirus. This message was brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to the program. Quite interesting calls we just received prior to the break. And of course, the week that was, everything from the Prime Minister making the announcement of the extended partial scale down up till 26th April. We can look forward to further word from the Prime Minister then as to what will be the way forward, as well as the announcement by Dr. Sharon Belmar-George that there have been since 11 recoveries on island. Quite favorable news that we are hearing. Hats off to the health system making arrangements, moving to the OKEU hospital. We knew that was taking some time, but efforts were expedited to ensure that we could have a hospital, the respiratory hospital, to address matters related to COVID-19, place persons in quarantine and isolation as necessary. So we want to commend the Ministry of Health, the officials, the frontliners who have been working assiduously to ensure that we flatten the curve of COVID-19 here in St. Lucia. We address and we manage, we deal, we help those diagnosed with COVID-19 recover. We have had since no deaths on island, and for that we must be thankful. Quite unfortunately, so we've had St. Lucia nationals succumbing to COVID-19 abroad. We will be getting an update from Dr. Joycelyn Clark Fletcher, and she is the ambassador responsible for diaspora affairs, and she will be giving us an update as to the other cases that the reports of other cases that we have been hearing so far in the new week. Also, the learning from home term, to let parents know, guardians know, this final term of the academic year will be a learning from home term. The Honorable Minister for Education, Dr. Gail Rigobert, announced this on Sunday. The term will be starting on the 20th of April, that is Monday, and in the last week, teachers would have been engaging parents, would have been engaging students, principals would have been engaging teachers, teachers would have been taking training on some of the learning platforms, the e-learning platforms that will be used by the Ministry of Education for the education of our children, our students on island. And finally, the telethon, the success of the telethon, the following up of organizations in presenting checks and handing over the donations that they would have made to go towards getting the personal protective equipment for our frontliners, as well as the National Meals Program. This week we saw Baron Foods St. Lucia Limited making their check presentation over to the coordinators of the telethon, as well as the Botham Jean Foundation making their donation, their check presentation as well. We would like to thank you so much for staying tuned to NTN Live. We would like to thank you for making this your one location for information. Sometimes it may seem that there is not any information in a particular period, in a few hours, maybe a day, but as the information comes in, we will provide it to you. As we get press releases, we read it out to you. As we get updates from the various stakeholders who are at the front line of this COVID-19 response, bringing you interviews, much anticipated interviews from the Commissioner of Police, Prime Minister, the CMO, on the regional level, OECS Head of Health, Dr. Carleen Radix. All of these we're bringing to you, right to your screens, to ensure that you have the information firsthand. Do stay tuned for more NTN programming. My name is Jessie Leonce. In studio, Carlton Cyril, Tony Nicholas. It's all the time we have for now, but we very much do appreciate you staying tuned and keeping abreast of what is happening from the government of St. Lucia. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, enjoy your weekend, and see you at the top of the week.
The world is in another crisis. We stuck inside and we forced to connect through devices. Life as we knew it will probably never be the same, but the earth is healing, so maybe we needed this change. We needed a break, no fear of missing out. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe we needed this drought. Population control, crazy, just look at the toll. There's not much that we know, except that we safe at home. Use this time for your growth, challenge your mind and your soul. Reconnect with your friends, reconcile with your foes. Get closer to God through meditation and prayer. Heaven knows, already been one hell of a year. Yeah. The world is in another crisis. We stuck inside and we forced to connect through devices. Can't even go and see your side chick. Yeah. Ain't tripping on social distance, was never one for the crowds. Don't know what tomorrow holds, could only live in the now. I'd rather live present in that than live in denial. I hope to come out of this as someone to make you proud. We ain't seen nothing like this in our generation. The modern day plague, it feel like the end of days. But trust me, this ain't the time for any more segregation. Nobody is safe, but everyone could be saved, yeah. The world is in another crisis. We safe inside and we blessed to connect through devices. A change of perspective is priceless. Yeah. KO.